is the quality of my excrement. And that's just not going to happen.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, we were finishing up a conversation. Welcome to the Meta Cafe, where we go over your daily astrology, human design, and tarot energy report. I totally freaking forgot this was Friday, Jason. Gosh darn it. So that means I haven't really prepared. I know I printed the day's chart somewhere here. I don't even know where I put it. Oh my God.
Do you want to do a live face thing tomorrow and do tomorrow's report?
Let's do that.
All right.
Let's do that. Chart of the moment. So I'm sorry to be so flighty, but yesterday, as you know, I was having, good morning, Suzanne. Good to see you out there. Yesterday, I was having an angst moment, anger moment. Let's call it what it was. I was angry.
And let's face it, Jason cured you. I said the power of Christ compels you, and the demons left you, and you were inspired by the Lord.
That was after I broke dishes and threw the laundry and ruined a project I was working on, spilled my coffee all over a coloring book that I was going to color on, took a walk, and then got freaked out because it looked like the hillside was going to slide, and came home again and went, okay, something's got to change. By that point, I am like all out fatigued, tired, like someone had just taken the wind out of my sails, right? So I try to lay down and take a nap. I can't because my cat wants to play with me. And cats, they have no idea about their human counterparts and what they're feeling. Like, she has no sympathy whatsoever when I don't want anything to do with her.
Okay, then you've got a stupid cat, because the reasons the Egyptians loved these cats is because they were healers. They would naturally come and purr and keep you calm. You have a retarded cat, madam.
No, she was trying to keep me calm. She wanted me to change my mood, and I wasn't having anything to do with it. Yeah. But here's what happened. Shifted everything. So you all know out there that I pull threads. That's what I like to say. Like, something piques my interest and I pull threads until I can get to the bottom of whatever it is that I am thinking about. Well, back in December, a lady that I know purchased a reading for her boyfriend for a Christmas present. So it was a gift certificate. And then he reached out to me and wanted to schedule his reading. And the kind of reading that she purchased was an Astrology-Human design combo sort of report.
A double donger.
A double donger, right? So it's intense. It's a lot of information. Well, then he starts talking to me. He emails me and starts saying, well, here's what I really want. I want a progressed human design chart. I'm already getting coached by a person who does human design. And I've already had a full human design reading. So I'm very comfortable with human design. But what I want you to do is a progression. So I sit there for a minute before I write him back and say, you fool, that is not what your girlfriend bought for you. Instead, I write to him and I say, look, so because I'm thinking, my mind is thinking the whole time. My mind is thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm going, so I write him, I go, look, the reading that she purchased was not about a progression. Nowhere in the text of that reading does it say that we're going to talk about progressed charts. For those of you who are listening and don't know what a progressed chart is, it is when we take and move your chart ahead one day for every 1 year of your life. Jason just turned 50, right? So I would move his chart 50 days ahead from January 13th to what turns out to be March 3rd of 1968. 90 day or 1 day for every year. Okay. So I tell him that I don't know anything about progressed human design, but I thought the idea was intriguing enough that I would look at it for you and see, what it was that I could find out about it. And if he was game to have the reading after all that, because I'm thinking I'm going to have to refund her this money because I can't do what he wants. So yesterday, in my angst, I realized, oh, geez, his reading is this afternoon, today, right? And so I best get working on this. So I sat down with this and I went, OMG. I pulled my own chart first because I'm my own guinea pig, right? And I started looking at it going, okay, I see some themes that I recognize. And so this morning I pulled Jason's chart. Now I'm going to need some guinea pigs besides me and Jason, right? I've got my family. I can play with them, but I kind of lose a little bit of objectivity with them because I know what's going on in their lives. So
You should do Rosanna Danis. She's such an
I will
incredible.
certainly, because my coach, she's one of my coaching clients. So of course they're going to be my guinea pigs that by default. So
No,
we'll be looking at that.
this is the best
What?
fucking list. She is the truest fan we have.
Yes. Hi, Roseanne. Everybody out there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Mimi. I'm sorry I'm not putting up comments so much because I'm so intrigued by this, because I pulled Jason's chart and I started working through. So there's two things that happen in human design when you progress a chart. Remember how in human design, your sun, all the planets are at a gate. And then there's always the little exponent, right? The little exponent or superscript tells you what line of that gate it's in. So that is related to the I Ching. So that line kind of, if you think of the gate as the highway, right, then the line would be the lane that you're traveling in. I hope that helps kind of keep that straight a little bit. So every day the sun moves through one of those lines. So every week the sun moves through six lines, or one gate a week, pretty much, right? Every 6 days, because there are 6 lines. So that translates then into human design progressions as every 6 years, the sun is moving, the planets are moving out of a gate and into another one. So we can see the progression of the gates that you are being focused toward, right? I hope everybody is with me. If you're not and you're confused, put it in the comments.
Up in a second. Go.
Say what?
I'm going to clear things up for the people that are on my end. Go. Keep going.
Okay. So I took Jason's chart and I progressed it. And what I found was so fascinating that this morning, behind the scenes, that's what he and I were talking about. And I said, I got to be able to share this with people, because when Jason was born, he came in with his sun at gate 61. Gate 61 is a gate that likes to answer the question, how? Like, how is this going to happen? Trying to figure things out rather than the purpose of the gate, which is to allow the mystery and the magic to unfold without the mind's interference. So being inspired to find answers, but allowing the answers to show up in your life. So people who have that gate to find are often striving, looking for the how. How is this going to happen? How can I figure out how to make this happen, etc., etc.
When you think about it, it is a truly spiritual gate, because
It's extraordinarily spiritual.
You get out of the physical. You go to that gray area and you allow the universe. And this is, you and I've worked on abundance. You and I've worked on acceptance. All of this stuff round and round. I
want to point out how interesting it is that this gate of magical thinking and of mystery and mysticism, let's say, comes in the sign of Capricorn, who we always think of as very left-brained and pragmatic and down to earth and, no bullshit, no lies kind of people.
He's the mystic. I would like to share with the audience, as I almost always do, about 3 years ago, I had what could be described as a lifectomy.
That's perfect.
Now, interplanetary Janet, she knew me from about 4 years prior. Excuse me. We've known each other for about 4 years.
Going on 5.
Okay. Now, I got one reading from Janet. She helped me get my interior design feng shui business up and afloat. It was awesome sauce. Soon after that time period, I ended up having to move. I had an offer I could not refuse. 6 months into living at this place, I was doing an interior design job. A scenario by where, I'm not going to just bore everybody with the details, but I went into the woods to get some long vines to lace down the center of a service for 25 dining room table. Excuse me. Excuse me. I stepped forward to grab the vine, and I ended up stepping on what I thought was a stump, but it wasn't a stump. The inside of the stump was decomposed, eaten by termites, but it maintained its exoskeleton. I put my foot into it. My foot went straight down, and I went ass over tea kettle down the side of a mountain with, by the way, a saw in my hand, a handsaw. So I'm doing one of these fucking Abbott Costello things. What? I'm alone in the middle of the woods. I could have been dead. So I come out, folks, like this. Thank God there were no, stones. It was. I got up, shook myself off. I'm 220 pounds of 6'1". I'm a big dude. Shake it off, got my vine, went back home, had an incredible toujours l'amour evening, got up at 8 o'clock to start my day, stood up and face planted. I was paralyzed on the left side of my body from the hip down. When I say paralyzed, I mean I could not feel it. And what I could feel was the kind of pain, visions of flamethrowers, buying flamethrowers. And, okay, come to find out, I was suffering from 3 different discs that had become bulging and or whatever they call it, and herniated.
Directly because of the fall.
I lost my life, folks. I didn't have insurance. I was a self-employed person. I ended up, after the 3rd week, I gave up hope. That's how much of a pussy I am. I figured, first 2 weeks, it's just muscular, it'll relax. Takes 7 weeks, by the way, if anybody's out there wondering. 7 weeks for a vertebra and or the disc to calm down, as it were. The long and the short of it, folks, is, and I'm not, ashamed to say this, but I lost everything. I lost my apartment. I lost my sweet cat that I adored, who was my best friend. I lost my work. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. Pot wasn't working anymore. I wanted to die. I lost my apartment. I lost my boyfriend. I lost everything. And I found myself shortly thereafter spending a couple days away. And it's incredible, Janet. It's perspective. Now you see,
which of course we can only get from 2020 hindsight.
Fucked up dynamic.
I know.
Let me tell you something, woman. You don't know who the fuck you are until you've gone somewhere and you hear the click of a lock and you cast yourself over what can only be considered one flew over the fucking cuckoo's nest. And you realized, I'm not that fucked up. And then you get your shit together real quick because you realize you're supposed to be a light into this world. But how do you do that? How do you start again?
Well, here's...
folks, I'm giving you this information not because I like to be overly Greek and dramatic, but because Janet almost pinpointed... Shut up. Janet, listen. Before I was laughing, because before we were doing the double donger, and I'm like, oh,
God. Don't show that.
So, life, man plans and God laughs. And so, why am I telling you all this? Well, Janet this morning started to get all of these, I call her the great pointillist. She likes to get all of these dots and connect them. So in painting, she would be a pointillist. She's like, hey, was it like almost exactly 3 years ago that you started, did it precipitate this huge change? Let me tell you something. You know what it reminded me of, Janet? When you
What?
find out that a parent is dead, well, maybe not for you, but when people who have had parents find out that a parent is dead, the one thing that you are at that moment, forget about happy, sad, is you are changed. I woke up that morning and couldn't feel my shit. And let me tell you something. All of a sudden, you are changed. I thought, I'll never walk again. Here's this virile man. La 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 la. In my late 20s. Okay. Oh, shit. Sorry, Michelle.
No, that's
Anyway, so
great.
yeah, just when you think yours is bad, you can hear another story. And so, why am I discussing it? Well, Janet put the dots together and realized with this, and I'm now going to be even more verbose and bore you, with this progression. She was able to pinpoint almost exactly when I went through this major shift because of this way in looking at the human design. So I think a lot of people, Janet, like myself, we use this word progression incorrectly. We think that because the stars or planets are in a certain place at your birth, when it starts to move, you're like a kid. When it starts, I thought I was bad, like, stealing focus, but you're worse than I am. When those planets start to move through the houses, laymen use the word progress, when in fact, that's not a correct term, and we all think it's a progression, but really, when Janet just did my January 13th, 2018, she did my solar return. That's what really people are thinking. Basically, it's, oh, this is where the sun and everything is today. But if I wanted to know what's going to go on in about a year from now, well, some of the events that are going to be happening already, she could tell you about. And then they're going to have progressive events. But my point is we think of those as a progression. When you use the word, is it transgression? No, that's bad. That's when
No,
you use.
I used the word progression because as opposed to transit or solar return, because the transits and solar return are in the now. What I'm doing here with a progression is I'm taking your birth and I'm moving it ahead, and I'm looking like, what is the pathway, the highway down the road that you're walking?
Yes.
And the reason this is even important and why I brought this up to Jason this morning is because it looks to me like about 2 to 3 years ago, he would have gone through a major change as the gate that the sun was focused in would have been progressing into a new one. And because typically right at around the end of the previous gate, there is something that happens perhaps that changes the focus of your life. Jason at that time was moving out of gate 37, which would have been a gate of peace and serenity and happiness, into a gate that we think of as self-doubt and suspicion. And what better way to create self-doubt than to take you from the height down to the bottom of the barrel so that you would have to reevaluate in your head what it is that you believe to be true about yourself and about the world around you. The gate of doubt, which is gate 63 in the head. So if I can show that, gate 63 is this long one, this right over here. Remember, the gates in the head are called the gates of madness. Why? Because we think on this rat wheel going round and round and round. Well, the gate of doubt is where Jason is right now, in the second line, which is a hermit line. So having to withdraw a bit in order to look in the mind to see what is causing the doubt. What is it that I'm doing? Now, when these transit or when these progressions happen, it often turns on or turns off these centers. So here's Jason's birth chart. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe I'll back it up.
There.
Can you see his ajna is defined, his throat's defined, the identity center, the sacral, and the emotional center, all defined.
So you can see it. No, keep holding it there. So you can see the green center triangle pointing down. That's what she's referring to as the ajna. Then the brownish box and the triangle. No, the diamond shaped looking will center. Then she's talking about
Nope,
that.
that's the identity center.
Sorry, identity center or
Then the sacral.
the sacral, and then the root. Okay,
No, the
so
emotional center.
got it.
Solar plexus. Now, if we look at his progressed chart.
Holy fuck! What the fuck? That's crazy. What is that?
Yours.
It looks like I need rotor rooter. I'm clogged. Am I clogged? Is it?
Well, the main thing that jumped out at me, and this is why this is so important, is that you and I have spent, a year now in coaching. And one of the first things I taught you in coaching was about the throat center and about how to use your voice appropriately. Because with a defined throat at birth, of course, you're designed to speak. But notice what shuts off. What is shut off right now?
My throat.
The throat center. Now, others have turned on, so we could, talk about that at some other point in time. But with the throat center turned off, now what you're learning about is how to use your voice appropriately, how to be invited into a conversation in order to share, as opposed to blurting. Now, it doesn't change the natural inclination, right? You were born with a defined throat. You are defined to speak. But learning about how it's possible to get heard and acknowledged when it's invited out of you is an important lesson, apparently, for you.
But Janet, it's incredible, the synchronicities that are happening at this moment because of what you're saying. Folks, I need you to understand that this has been and I know it's going to sound like, duh, but this has been a lifelong process. I will connect the dots for you. I found myself being told from childhood on how incredibly opinionated and critical I was. Now, obviously, I got this from my parents.
That doesn't change. Oh, did I say that out loud? It doesn't change. That part does not change.
Thanks. Can I? Thanks. So you get that information, right? You're a kid. You're hearing like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Isn't everybody like objective and able to look at and okay. So I find myself in therapy at 25. God rest her soul, Alice. Oh. So we were talking, and she was, look at me, Janet. She was like, me, and and she said, because we were talking about the fact that I was opinionated and this and that and blah blah blah. Waited. She waited until I took a pause, and she said, "That's lovely, Bobby, but I got one question for you, and I want you to take this question, and I want you to tattoo it on your fucking forehead, because obviously you didn't get the memo. And if you'd gotten the memo would have said, who asked you?" I remember sitting in this sort of recliner chair, and everything got tight. Like you, and she was such a wonderful, divine, comfortable in her skin woman. All you wanted to do was hug and kiss her. I wanted to tear her head off and shit down her neck. No one had ever asked me that question. I believe because I was the Greek prince brought up by this woman. Thank you, Michelle. I couldn't see the comment before, Michelle, about I saw only the word blood clot, and then I didn't see the rest, but you and I could talk.
In her late 20s, she lost about everything from unexplained clots in her lungs. Okay. Life-threatening stuff there.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. We'll talk about that another time. So here I am with this woman who's like, who asked you? Well, that, my friends, went up my ass like a hedgehog's prick sideways, but it was the jumping off place to where I started to really ask myself that question.
Yeah.
To find out that no one is. No one is really asking me, unless it's a paid consultation or some other scenario. However, so I've got that childhood shit going on. I get this therapist at 25 who gives me the just synthesized right to it. Who asked you? That's very nice that you have an opinion, but unless somebody asks you, and let me tell you something else, Bubby, 9 times out of 10, when they're asking you, they're still not asking you. They don't want the truth. But anyway, So then I hear that. And then I get this woman. Janet Hickox. You know her? Nice lady. Little chatty, nice lady. She then tells me, hey, mister, you got a thing here. To make this thing go right here, you got to make sure that people are asking, or somehow it is being invited out of you. Otherwise, you're casting pearl before swine. It frustrates the swine because they don't know what to do with it, and you lose your pearls. Folks.
And you get frustrated because no one wants your pearls or your swine.
Folks, hear me. And I hope that someday, we look back on these recorded things and go, wow, there was some genius there. I truly believe that this who asked you, this wait to be invited, what it does is it demands a sense of awareness that opens the door to objectivity.
Good one.
It makes you shut the fuck up. Nobody fucking asked you, motherfucker. So then when you do that, whoop, you then start to think, what's in this for me? Why am I trying to share this information? Why is me sharing this information important? Ooh, what's going on there for you, Jason, in this equation? And then you start to get to the nitty-gritty of it. And so, knowing that I have this ajna, knowing that I have this constellation of stuff going on, right now it is not defined. Interesting that my coronal center is defined now, and I'm getting crazy clear psychic shit. Like, oh, you ate turkey yesterday and you had it, weird shit. So here's Janet telling you about this, and all of a sudden now, Janet and I are not doing the radio show at the moment. We're going to a different thing where it's not just about the voice. Anyway, there's a lot of exciting stuff, I think, going on, and that's a phenomenal tool that you have at your disposal now.
Yeah, so the big things to look at, of course, are the gate changes, when the gates change. The other thing is what centers light up that hadn't been, and which ones turn off that hadn't been. And then we begin to look at the planets involved in this way. The moon represents your emotional journey for this year. It will, and the integration of the emotional input that happens throughout the year. And the moon will travel through 3 gates every year of your life. So I can't tell you for sure what gates you'll travel through for the whole year, but I know it begins at gate 27, which is about nurturing. Right, so right now your moon, your moon is in that gate of nurturing and allowing for self-nurturing, teaching, etc. of your tribe. Mercury in the chart, as it progresses, is what you're bringing to consciousness, what's coming up from deep within the mind and then being made conscious, the unconscious being made conscious. And for you, that is forgiveness.
I like that. Out of all the lessons, that's probably easiest.
Venus represents what you can attract to you in this year, and it's also that same gate.
Forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
Boring. That's a waste of a planet. That's a waste of a planet. Venus should be somewhere else, like in my pornography house or somewhere. Doesn't need to be jamming it up with what's his name.
On Mars, what you desire and will passionately chase, which for you happens to be 21, the gate of control. We'll have to talk about that one. That's about financial security and being able to manage resources. And so, interesting gate. So, all of that is to say that out of my need to sort of do this reading for this person and integrate for him his progressions, it opened up a whole new world for me and helped me yesterday. A waste of a planet. That's hilarious, Michelle says. That is pretty hilarious. So I mean, because of course I pulled my own, and I saw in my own chart that, yeah, well, anyway, I'm not going to talk about myself. Anyway, it's fascinating and it's worthwhile to look at. And isn't it interesting that it happened as the sun and moon begin their transit into Aquarius energy, which is the energy where we can turn something upside down and look at it from a different direction, right? It's unique, it's genius, it's out of the box thinking.
It's the Hanged Man.
Ah, well, yeah, of course, turn it upside down. And didn't you tell me the Hanged Man is my
Identifier.
identifier card? Interesting.
Well,
So
this year, I don't know. I haven't pulled one on you this year, so.
say that again.
I haven't pulled one on you this year. You get 1 full year with the identifier.
Ah, so at any rate, then what we're looking at then today is the sun moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. The moon moving out of Aquarius and into Pisces hasn't happened yet, but will happen later in the day.
That
So we
sounds.
have a lightening up of some energies here.
Yeah, that sounds better to me.
It sounds like we're moving in a direction of change, which is good. Having come through some of the more chained energy of Capricorn. Not that that's a bad thing, right? It caused us to bring in, shrink, and focus and concentrate our energy in some way. Now we see them one after another, the planets moving out and on to bigger and better things.
You know, I have to tell you, I would interpret it just for my own. I would interpret it differently, Janet. This wasn't so much about the shrinking as it was about looking at shit, looking at the hard stuff with a realistic viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking to my dear friend last night. I'm gonna apply to Pier 1 to get a part-time job because I got to get the
Something
energy,
going.
something going because this is not working.
Sometimes we got to do what we got to do.
And I learned that from Jananas. She's like, absolutely. It's great to get the money flowing. It's great to have something to like while you're building. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that I had an aha about in my own chart, and I can share this because it's not particularly personal, is that we all have, what is it called? We call it your definition, where if you're single definition, then all the centers are flowing together nicely, right? You can have split definition, which would be two different groupings of the energy centers that have to be bridged, usually by other people in your life. Well, when I was born, I had defined, or my definition was single definition. Everything was firing together. But at least for the next foreseeable future, I now have triple split definition. That is the very definition of irritation because I'm a hermit and I like being alone. I like being hermited, but triple split definition now means I got to get myself out in the world.
Well,
right? I got to have people to help me bridge all these energy centers together.
Well, I'm there.
This is why radio isn't working for us, Jason, because it's behind the scenes. Even though there's an energetic play there, it's behind the scenes.
I was born split. What am I now? Am I triple like you? Because if I'm fucking triple like you, I'm throwing myself off a goddamn bridge.
No, you're still split definition, the same split that you had to start with. So nothing big there has changed, at least not in this year. Maybe next year it's different. But for right now, I have that freaking triple split definition, and my incarnation cross has changed to the left angle cross of revolution.
What? I didn't know. Oh, yes. That just dawned on me that the crosses change.
Right. You're now on
I want to know. What is mine?
You're on the right angle cross of consciousness.
No longer the Maya. Okay.
So you're bringing out of the shadows some of the aha moments, like the victim thing, like the being the observer, and all of these things that have been coming up to your consciousness from the shadow area. So this is like, Roseanne, I love it. Epic stuff. I don't know if it's epic stuff, you two, meaning both of us, but epic stuff. Like if I were to take this and apply this to people's lives, to their charts, just imagine what that reveals to you, it revealed to me, and it revealed enough to me yesterday to make me go, oh, I'm done with my little tantrum and anger confrontation moment, because I now have a different focus. It shifted my focus out of where I was into where I'm going. And it's fascinating stuff, right? So, and I will be playing with it. So don't be surprised if I call you up one day and say, I need to look at your progressed chart. Or if you are one of my coaching clients, that we go through a process that, of course, delays our ending our coaching, but whatever. The longer, the better, right?
What energy you were discussing today, what energy, now that the sun and the moon are sort of moving through into Pisces and Aquarius, which is going to be crazy emotional. What
Lots
else
of
is the
water for the weekend, lots of water energy, emotional energy, leading us to, one of the things in human design we always think about is that when we are in that low part of our emotional wave, that's the part where we're bringing out some of the most creative energies. Like they're sinking in, and what's that word? They're ruminating, germinating. That's the word, and about ready to pop up out of the dark. And so that's
yesterday?
kind of this energy right now.
Yesterday, I did not throw back some of your own shit in your face. I just listened. But I have to tell you, one of the things that you have given me is this. You're helping more and more with this objectivity element, and this was the first time. Not even my therapists. So listen up, folks. Said this to me, and it's so simple. I'm emotionally defined. She has had to say that 9 million times for it to sink in. But what she said to me the last time was, Jason, remember, these are just emotions. What? You mean it's not my absolute identifiable reality? How dare you? How dare you? So,
I'm really glad you didn't throw that at me yesterday, because I might have punched my computer screen.
I know when to push your buttons.
That was probably a good thing not to push that button
Like,
yesterday.
hey, Janet, they're just emotions.
I love it. I love it.
It allows you to back the fuck off again. I mean, listen, it might get to the point where I get so zen where I might not even need to talk.
Oh, Lord.
Not
whatever. So pull a card for us for today, Jason, because otherwise we'll just keep talking and keeping these poor people all day long.
If they have a problem, they can go off. I'm not.
By the way, I like your your whatever that is. That it's turquoise or jade or.
Yes, it is Christicola. I was thinking of sending it. I was thinking of sending it to you because I don't think it really works with my eyes. So I think it's going to work better with your eyes. So you see it here, folks. Now it's going to get to her, and you're going to see it on her. It'll be funny. So
it's beautiful.
This is thank you, like you. This is one of my favorite cards.
Okay, hold on. I got to hide some stuff here. So stop for a moment. There we go. So we have the Three of Cups with the dancing fairies.
It is one of my favorite cards, Bejeweled Cups. This is communion. This is coming together with oneself, but mostly this card talks about reach out and touch. And I don't mind if it's touch. Somebody's, this is a card of community. It screams community. Who are you in the community? How are you bringing your community together?
Yes, good.
Thank you, Suzanne. That's fantastic. I crumbled. I'm down to 2 cigarettes a day. Yeah. Oh well. Anywho, so
getting there.
This card is one of my favorite cards. So, if you're planning on reaching out to friends to get together, excellent weekend to do that. At least tonight, today, if you hear this. Oh, good. It's a lovely energy, isn't it? It's found in the Middle East, I believe, and it's a mix between porphyry and turquoise. Anyway.
Turquoise.
Turquoise. Turquoise. Which, by the way, if anybody's using turquoise in their home, it's gorgeous to use, but make sure you use orange accents to pop with it. Anyway, that being,
Carnelian.
yes, or that gorgeous, gorgeous red coral, orange coral. That's a beautiful.
Or orange citrine. Orange citrine's gorgeous.
To die for. So that's what this card's about, community and reaching out to people. It's a good time to do that.
Very good. That's a good way to leave the day, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think about all that emotional, lovely stuff, that watery stuff, it's good, you know. And don't forget the power of Christ.
That compels you, right?
Always compels me. Yeah.
I hope no Catholics are embarrassed by us.
What else to tell everyone? So you want to do this tomorrow morning?
We could do this tomorrow morning. Let's not do it quite so early.
All right, so if I'm around and you're around, we'll tell 2 friends and so on and so on.
If nothing else, we can always just record it. If people can't join us live, we can record it, and it'll be there for everybody to hear about what's going on for Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll be ready for the new week. Well, it won't be the last week of January. It'll be January's a long month. 4th week of January.
Right?
Huh?
Moons, right?
Smooth?
2 full moons, correct?
2 full moons, definitely. On the 31st, and that one will be a lunar eclipse. Fun stuff, people. Fun stuff.
That's it for me, lady.
I'm done too. I hope everybody understood that meandering talk about the progressions. Don't be surprised if I call on you to look at your charts so that I can test my theories. In the meantime, I hope everybody has a stellar day. That's for you, Terry. Love you. Have a great one. Bye.
Is Terry your husband?
Yes.